been a minute. It's been a minute, but bringing this thing back to you guys. I think it's at a very critical moment in our time and in our history right now. So, without further or to do, um, UF. Good morning.
Good morning. Top of the morning, brother.
We are gonna go ahead and hop into this. It's June 22nd. We got a couple months before we have to figure out who we gonna pick for the guy, and we still at odds at that. There's a lot of discussion around these two individuals, and we talk about the Constitution, and I'm not sure a lot of us understand or know what's fully in the Constitution. We probably know the gist of it, but there's a lot of things. Um, 7 articles in there. In those 7 articles, there's about 4 or 5 of the articles that have a multitude of sections. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into when people say you got to uphold the Constitution and that's against the Constitution and stuff like that. So without further ado, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general war welfare and security, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our and our posterity. Excuse me. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Okay. So, Article 1, that all legislative powers hear it. First, let me back up real quick. That statement, do you guys understand, like, corporations or any business or anything like that? I think even to submit a business loan or a business plan, you have to have a mission statement, some sorts. What services you're providing, how are you going to better the space or whatever it is that you're moving in, right? I think that that's the thing. What I just read, I believe, is the mission statement of the Constitution, right? So this is, we the people of the United States, we need, in order to form a more perfect union, right? We need to establish these things that, hey, justice, tranquility, defense, welfare. These are key blessing to our liberty, for our posterity. These are words that are, I would say, all inclusive. I don't think in that entry or in that mission statement it defined any being. So with that being said, I'm gonna roll on to the articles. So Article 1 um, is dealing with the legislation powers granted to vested in the Congress, um, in the Senate and House of Representatives. So it basically establishes those entities as governing bodies, and it explains what they do. The House of Representatives shall be comprised or composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the 7 states, and the electors of each state shall have the qualified requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the legislature, state legislature. All right. No person shall be representative, shall not have not retained to age of 20. They should have to be 25. So they have to be the age of 25. People of several states, and the electors of each state shall have qualification requisites for electors for most numerous branch of state legislation. Okay. Um, they're setting the guidelines and the prerequisites. They're saying that we have to have some sort of prerequisites, like some sort of qualifications. You got to understand and know, some things. Um, it says that they have to be the age of 25, 7 year citizen, uh, who shall not, when elected, uh, be an inhibitor of any state. So like they have to be established in a state. Um, that was section two. Section three, okay, when there's vacancies, they're talking about stuff like that. They're gonna have to have elections to fill those vacancies. So we're still talking about elected officials. So the House of Representatives shall speak with other officers and have these sole powers of impeachment. So when it starts talking about, I guess we need to break down what impeachment is at some point to understand what that is and who has the authority and power to do that. Because you hear that word a lot as well. Um, Section three of Article One. So what this is talking about, the Senate of the United States shall be comprised of two senators from each state. Therefore, there should be in it 6 years, and each senator should have one vote cast in the Senate. So they're saying they have a 6 year term limit. Immediately after that, they shall be assembled, and consequences of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as they may into three classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the second year. So they're sitting here breaking it down like how that rotation goes. So there's that section three is talking about that. All right. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attended to the age in their 30s. Hold on. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained. Okay, so you have to be so in order to be a senator, you have to be 30. So House of Representatives, you can be 25. A senator, you have to be 30. All right. So does it make so now we're making a little bit more sense, right? So this breaks it down a little bit, right? So your House of Representatives are a little bit junior, more junior uh politicians. And if they're still at the House of Representatives, they have a certain term to make it into the big leagues, the senator. So it almost looks like the House of Representatives is the minor leagues. What would you think? There, UF?
But the Senate being the minor leagues.
No, the House of Representatives. Based off of this, you got your House of Representatives. The qualifying age is 25, and then in the Senate, your qualifying age you have to be 30. So you're kind of making that, and then I believe to be president you have to be 35. So there is kind of like various stages in your political career that you're able to achieve these certain levels.
Mm.
So it's being, I mean, we can see it right here. It's being structured in a way that by experience you should be able to lead at these levels of leadership.
And progress, right?
Right, right, exactly. So this is what this is breaking down. At this point, and I'm not going to read all of this. I'm not, you guys aren't going to sit here and slam me about how I can't read that everything that good off the screen. I ain't got my glasses on, and I'm old. But the gist of this is that I'm looking at these words, and and what we all need to do is look this thing up. It's everywhere. You can Google it. You can look this up. It's readily available. It's not hard to obtain. Go into the Constitution and start reading these things and understanding them, because then when we start speaking about it, we get a little bit better understanding. This The Senate shall choose their other officers, and also a president per temp. I don't even. And listen, guys, I'm reading this because it's transcribed. When it's transcribed, it's in how it was written. So they spoke differently back then. I don't speak that way. So I apologize because some of these words we may have to look up. But I think they're not pro tempore. I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna have to look that up. In the absence of a vice president, or when he shall exercise the office of president of the United States, the Senate shall choose other officers and also a president if the absent of a vice president. So if say something happened to our vice president, the Senate now takes control of what her decisions would be in this in our current administration. If something was to happen or to our Miss Vice President Kamala Harris,
Hmm.
the Senate will then be her speaking voice. Okay, so when you start getting into the Senate, that sounds like that's a lot of juice, a lot of power, right? But these senators are elected, so keep that in mind. All right, section 4, the times, the place, and the manners of holdings of elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature, therefore, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places the choosing senators. So Congress ain't got no say in what the people who the people vote in there for senator. That's what I took away from that. All right.
Hmm.
Congress
Hmm.
shall assemble at least once in a year, every year, and each meeting shall be on the first Monday in December. Okay. Unless they shall by law appoint a different day. So they have to come together and say, all right, we don't want to do it the first December. So they have to meet at least once a year about what they meet about. And I'm sure that that's you know, their big conventions and all of that stuff that they have, State of the Unions, all of that stuff is included into that stuff. They have mandatory meetings. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how when you start reading this stuff, it's really corporate almost. But section 5, each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualification of its own members, and the majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day, and it may be authorized to compel the the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as the each house may provide. That sounds kind of punitive. Like it sounds like they were getting tardy slips back then. I'm not sure if that happens now. It sounded like they were getting check marks or tick marks, like, "Hey, you wasn't here."
Yeah, getting points.
Yeah, you getting check. Yeah, you getting points. Not sure how that works. That might be something I need to research. How many points y'all got? You up here on CNN talking? You how many? Let me see your points. Oh man, you wasn't even at the damn meetings. You wasn't even at the meetings. We need to see their points. I think they need to have their stats, like how everybody else got stats. Baseball, football, everybody got stats. I want to see your points. I think we should start treating these politics like fucking sports.
I agree. We should see your stats.
We should see your freaking
Your
stats.
stats. We should be able to pull it up easy. There should be recorded stats.
Right.
Absolutely.
Your highlight reels. We need your 30 for 30. That's the way. You know what? I think I'm on to something there, verse.
I think
All
you
right,
are too.
I think we on to something.
First things first is how many promises have you delivered on? What's your what's your
Batting average,
what's your batting average? Exactly where I was gonna go.
right? What's your free throw? What's your free throw percentage? How many
Mm-hmm.
things did you come up with?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Your slugging average, assists, all that shit. I mean, obviously they wouldn't be called that, but it would make sense in a way that you know what I'm saying that your budget, your financial metrics, and what's your you know, and then without getting into that so much, without getting into that so much, um, we can we can arguably say that in none of these things have we yet spoke about anything that I said. We haven't spoke about any racial divide or any type of identifying factors of people. Each house shall be okay. We said that. We talked about that. Um, each house should keep a journal of its proceedings. So these are all the notes and stuff. So they have to keep all their records. Um, Section 6. So Section 5 talks about how they keep their records. Section 6. The senators and representatives shall receive and a compensation of their services. So Section 6 is saying that they should be paid. No senator or representative shall during this time for which he is elected be appointed any civil office under the authority of the state. So there's clearly defined. They can't be dibbling and dabbling, is what that's saying. Okay. You can't hold more than one office in various capacities. That's against the Constitution. All right. Uh, section Section 7. All bills for raising revenue shall or originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Hmm. As bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. So it would make sense that the House of Representatives are drafting these bills because they're supposed to be the finger on the pulse, right? These are the junior, these are the juniors elected officials, correct? These are when we already established the fact that the age of 25 they can be a house, they could be in the House of Representatives, right? So you would think that they're more closer to the communities and the people because they're newly elected officials, they're younger officials, correct? So
Agree.
it's kind of making sense to me. Like, I mean, how we're going through these sections, is it not kind of adding up? Like, okay, so these guys are the ones that draft up the bills because they're the ones that are talking to the people. They're the closest ones to the people. As you get higher up, you're getting your word from your House of Representatives. They're talking about this. You come together on a larger scale about you know the issues or whatever it is that the people need. You get together, you talk about it once a year. All right, these are the plans that we're rolling out for next year. Like any business sounds like, right? You have your quarters, you're talking, okay, our plan that we just rolled out last year, let's see how it works. Okay, Q1. Dang, they really don't like the fact that this happened, but let's see. Okay, Q2 we rebound because they understand that it was that much because it's better now for some reason. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the way this is supposed to work. And then if the people are telling you, "Hey, these are our issues and you need to fix these things," you're supposed to have, and I'm not sure why we have I mean, we're talking House of Representatives, they have a term limits, but some of these these senators, and I think that's where the issue is. They don't have the term limits. I think other other people have. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you start talking about that type of stuff, it looks like it's very cut and dry. You know what's supposed to be happening. Do we elect the right people? Are we electing the right people for the right things, for the right reasons? You know, we go through all these sections. We're looking at what these people are supposed to be doing. Okay. And that's kind of where I want to go with this is like really understanding it and sparking the interest of wanting to go and take a look at it. I might have just said something to you on section 7 that's like, oh, dang, I don't think let me see what that said and go look at it. Okay. Let me see here. We got a couple more sections on on article 1. Article 1 dove deep into basic. It's like the table of contents almost seems like. So section 7 that was talking about all the bills going through the House of Representatives up through the chain of command there. Section 8, the Congress shall provide or have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties imposed on and exercise the right to pay the debt and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. So Congress has all the power to disseminate, collect. They the money man. That sounds like that's what that is. Congress is like, okay, we're gonna decide we're gonna decide how much we need to tax people, um, what specific duties are, and then impose and excise the pay and paying the debts, and then making sure that we're defended and that our well-being is taken care of. But all duty, okay. So to borrow money uh, on the credit of the United States, this is where we established credit to regulate commerce, establish uniform rule of naturalization. We're talking about banks governing money, provide for the punishment of counterfeiting our money. These are all the things that are in Section 8. We're talking about how this money is supposed to be maintained. Establish post office. So Congress has this responsibility. Um, constitute tribunals, interfere to Supreme Court, define the punish, piracies and felonies and all of that, like international law, like our national laws that are agreed upon by other nations. They're responsible for kind of keeping an eye on all that stuff. The Congress is to declare war. The president gets to impose that. Raise and support armies, maintain a navy. This is all congressional. Make the rules that govern and regulate the lands of naval forces. Provide forth militias for laws of the Union, suppression of insurrections, and repel invasions. So let's read that one again. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. That's 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 a big one right there. Congress can tell the people of the United States to take arms. It I think that that's what that's saying. I want to read it again. Congress has the authority to impose or exercise calling to provide the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasions. UF, what do you think about that one?
Is that is against other foreign forces or against domestic forces? Is it not? Is it not
It
specifying?
it does not specify right there.
Okay.
So let's read on then. Let's see if it specifies further down. Okay, so to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for government such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively. Okay, we're talking about the National Guard. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Militia, in this sense, is each state's. So when we start talking about the military and breaking it down, right, you have your active duty branches, right? You have your reservists, which are still federal, right? So these guys are just kind of the backup to the active guys, right? And then you have National Guard, which National Guard can come to national defense if needed, but the state has to authorize the National Guard to the president, from my understanding. So, in order for the National Guardsmen to engage in any national war, the state, that governor, has to release them or allow the president to use them. If that makes sense,
Okay.
because that
Makes sense.
form of military, the militia, is the state militia, which is National Guard. Arizona has their National Guard. California has their National Guard. Texas has their. So if the state wanted to, I mean, hypothetically, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
But I don't think those guys would do that. I'm not sure. It depends. There would be a crazy. I wouldn't even want to think about what would make that happen for that to be a thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what they're talking about. I stand corrected. We're talking about the. It sounds like we're talking about the National Guard here. To exercise executive legislation in cases whosoever in such districts not exceeding 10 miles square miles as made by succession of a particular state. So they're just setting up the guidelines. It sounds like they're, like the erection of forts. You can't set your forts up, certain distances and stuff like that. We have forts. I'm pretty sure out in Virginia, you come across a bunch of forts and camps and ports and stuff like that are very historical. Okay. Uh, to
Absolutely.
to make all these laws shall be necessary to properly carry out into execution the foregoing powers. Right. So they're saying that Congress has a lot on their plate. So those people need to be the right people. Those people need to be the right people because at the end of the day, these are our. If we're gonna break it down in a society type of setting, this is why these people are kind of old. We look at these politicians, we're like, damn, they fucking old, da da da. Why? Yeah, it's because they're supposed to be our elders. That's one thing that I think sometimes we get away from. You know, think about your great grandma. Think about your great grandma, and you'd sit down and listen to your great grandma talk because she knows something. She done been through some shit. She done seen some things. But we also have to take into account where kind of great grandma's back bringing, background. Is great grandma someone that was privileged and grew up extremely wealthy and didn't have to work too hard, or was great grandma someone that was out there busting her ass? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there is going to be a variety of a range of wisdom there. Now, wise nonetheless, right? Because even through the silver spoon, you've learned life, you've seen things. You might not have been at the short end of that stick, but you've witnessed it, you've seen it. You might have been like, "Ooh, I'm glad that's not me,"
Right.
right? And then you come from the other side of wisdom where you got the short end of the stick, and we call that I would call that, the the struggle.
Excuse me, sorry. Do we also get to, because I agree with you on that one. I don't want a bunch of 20-year-old, 30-year-olds running the country, still haven't experienced things, experienced a lot of life, still hasn't ran. How much of the progression and being a politician and all of that stuff have they actually experienced to the point where we're allowing them to actually have the key to the country. But do we also get to question whether or not they've crossed over the threshold of from experience to decline, just an experienced person elder to the decline of that an elder can be at an old age? Do they have the
Right.
capability and the
That,
mind still to run the country?
right. And that's kind of where we have in front of us today. Now, people that are close to Joe Biden keep saying that he's a sharp guy. Like, that may very well be true, but unfortunately, when it's time for him to display that, it doesn't seem like we see that too frequently,
Doesn't make us,
right?
we don't feel confident that he's a sharp
Right.
guy.
And I'm not gonna say, and this particular show, I didn't want to get partisan and talk about left and right and all of that. I wanted to stick to the Constitution. But you're right. But these are elected officials. So we the people, and I'm going to keep referring back to that because this is what we're talking about, the Constitution today, right? We the people should elect individuals who are qualified and capable, right? We are putting forth someone in our to represent us. And if I am capable and qualified to do that and understand that this person or that person is qualified and capable, you know what I mean? Like there's a level of understanding of what's going on for you to be qualified and capable. As voters, we need to qualify ourselves. We can't be a qualified voter if we don't know and understand the facts. We don't know and understand our rights. Because then what are you voting for? What is it that you're going into the voter box to do other than and see I wanted this to be more of another show, but we're talking about the Constitution and you're seeing how this is structured, right? So
Mhm.
as a voter, you need to be qualified to vote, in my opinion. Now you have the right just to go and be unqualified and go freaking do it. But what's happening nowadays is that it's turned into a popularity contest.
Absolutely.
Clickbait. Who comes up with the best clickbait? Who comes up with the best headline? How I can smear the guy the quickest? Verse. I'm about to be 50 years old, and I feel like such a boomer now because I'm sitting back watching like a lot of things happen in this world that I think that's happening in a way. For me, it's moving so fast.
Mm.
For the rest of everybody else, is kind of just taking its time and it's kind of seeping.
Hmm.
And it may just be because I come from a different era and a time, or maybe just because I'm interested in the details. You know what I'm saying? That
Hmm.
that that might be the difference. I don't know. But being a qualified voter and understanding what your rights are, looking into this constitution, right? Um, is very critical because then you understand what's going into these bills and what's not going into these bills that is or may not be against the constitution. Because at that point, it's a very easy decision. It should be a very easy vote, right? Section 9, the migration or importation of such person, right? So okay. So just to back up and recap, section 8 was about all the things the Congress was responsible for, right? Section 9, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the state now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. Hmm. But a tax. Okay, so now they're starting to talk about taxes and how on such importation not exceed $10 per each person. So they're talking about how um, we're starting to tax their citizens. The privilege with I don't know, the privilege of the right of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless I need to look that term up. It sounds like the right to habitate, the habitus corpus sounds like something about habitating, shall not be suspended unless when in case of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. Okay, it sounds like that we can't uproot you unless it's against or that. I have to look into that. So this is looking at.
Google says a right requiring a person under arrest to be brought before a judge or
Okay,
into court, especially to secure a person's release unless lawful grounds are shown for the detention.
habitus corpus. Habitus
No, that's
corpus.
not habeas corpus. That's habeas corpus. All right,
Habeas corpus. Yeah, that's what
okay.
that is. So the privilege to have someone brought before a judge. Okay, so shall not be suspended. Okay, so hey, and so they okay, so we talking about the taxation that the taxes. We're talking about arrest of not paying your taxes. You have to be represented unless there's a rebellion going on or an invasion to where it's not safe for it to happen. No bill or see they starting to get real. See, this is where I think people have a problem with the Constitution sometimes because it starts to get into language that is not common. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Like, what does that mean?
So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm reading this habeas corpus or corpus over and over again to try to understand, to try to be able to break it down in layman's terms. So basically, it's saying this is habeas corpus is your right when you're under arrest to be brought in front of a judge to basically challenge whether or not you've been arrested on lawful grounds.
Okay, so it's basically stand your ground. Like,
Yeah.
all right, it makes sense. I was like saying habitat and being you're right to habitate something,
Hmm.
but yes, you're right to stand on your ground. Yeah,
To basically say I wasn't arrested for lawful reasons, so I should be released.
got you. So, yep, that makes sense. So we're talking about Section 9 taxing and your right to oppose taxes. Essentially, it sounds like if you're arrested for
Interesting.
not paying your taxes. All
Interesting.
right, I don't know. We'll look into that. That's this is the type of stuff you it sparks that. Let me look into that. It just made you Google that, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
made you fucking Google. That's cool. No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So I think they're saying that it could be audited and checked whenever. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept any present annulment. office, title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So
Read that
Congress,
part again. That's saying that no congressman can simultaneously hold some position in another country.
no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall without the consent of the Congress accept any of the present. So they're basically saying that y- you can't be like, if you're in the United States, you can't be a prince in some other country.
And also be a U.S. senator.
Yeah, or
Gotcha.
yeah, you can't. No, you can't. It's that's conflict of interest. I would say that would be a
Yes.
conflict of interest. All right. Section 10, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coins. So we're establishing our currency. All your shit got to be gold and silver. And tender payment of debts pass any bill of attainder ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contracts or grant any title of nobility. So no state shall impose taxes on other states. So like you can't tax another state for sending their stuff up to your state, and no state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in a time of peace. So yeah, to engage other states. So they're basically saying like, hey, y'all can't fight each other. That's what it sounds like. So Article 2. I mean, that was Article 1, man. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna summarize the rest of these because I really want to get down to these Bill of Rights. So real quick, time is it? Okay.
This is a great time to tell anybody that's listening, man, to please subscribe to the Spotify, subscribe wherever you're watching. Also subscribe to the Guap Network YouTube page if you
I
would please.
I appreciate that fill in for the whatchamacallit. I accidentally clicked off of this and I didn't know where it was at. So I appreciate you.
It's all good.
Appreciate the assist there. All right, Article 2, Section 1. Executive power should be vested in the President of the United States. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years and together with the Vice President chosen. So Article 2 talks about the president and what the president's responsibility is. I highly recommend we break that down. I want to do that right now. So we'll do that. So we're gonna break this one last one down. The other ones we'll kind of just run past and then and just kind of lightly discuss those. And then you know what? I might just have to do another one on the Bill of Rights another time verse.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's sure to take multiple episodes. It's a
Okay.
lot. It's a lot
Okay.
to digest.
So
Pause.
Article 2, the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term, but elected as follows, excuse me. Each state shall appoint in such a manner as the legislature therefore may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. Okay. What's this saying? There's okay. So this is where we get into electoral votes and electoral college and all of that stuff, right? Then they're going to break down. The Congress may be determined at the time by choosing the electors they may, and on the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. So every voting day is voting day. No person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of a, ooh, this one right here. This one right here. No person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 and have been 14 years a resident within the United States.
One more time.
No person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible for the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 or have been in the country for 14 years as a resident.
Okay. So
Okay.
you have to be a born. You have to be a either a born citizen or have been here for 14 years. Been a citizen for 14 years,
14
and you
years.
have to be over the age of 35.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like
That
crazy requirements.
sounds very clear, right? Okay. So we've already read that. The president shall at stated times receive for his service a compensation. Okay.
How do you feel? Let me ask you this. How do you feel about a non-born American the holding the seat of president?
A non, like say you weren't born here.
Yeah, let's say I was born in Jamaica.
I
Well,
say the
Jamaica. No, Jamaica's not a.
Constitution says that if you come over here
And I've been here for 14 years.
14 years and you're older than the age of 35 and you've maintained your citizenship for that long, then why not?
Okay.
I have no, I mean, to me, the Constitution is fine. Like from everything that I've read about it, everything that I've read on it,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone as deep as I've gone, like I've gotten the gist, like the summaries, right? And then you go into amendments. But to me, the Constitution is really a good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the application of it. It's its use. You know what I'm saying? It's its abuse. You know what I'm saying? It does provide some very specific guidelines and power, but those people have to be the right people. You know what I mean? So when we start talking about the Constitution and those this wasn't written for me and stuff like that, again, I want to emphasize that nowhere in here that we've read has it said anything about what color we are.
I agree. I have a take on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Um, I think that a lot of times when people, I think that a lot of times people will simplify or complicate things when it whether to fit what they're thinking, to fit their ideals or their points. I think that when people say it wasn't written for us, it doesn't mean that nowhere in there does it benefit us today. I think that when it was written for a specific amount of people, not saying that it was written to not include a certain amount of people. That's like me saying, hey, I bought um I bought ice cream for my daughters. That's not to say that I bought ice cream to exclude everyone else at the party. I
Right.
didn't. I just bought the ice cream because for my daughters because that's who I was buying the ice cream for. So I think when people say it wasn't written for us, some other people might not view it this way, but I think if I was to say that, when I'm saying it in the sense of we were not in mind. Black people were not in mind when this was created.
And then we just covered something where I feel I strongly disagree. What you That's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
What you just read was a fact. It even talks about not born citizens of the United States.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what
So it even says we'll allow you to be the president. Like it doesn't say in the section like this is the Constitution now. The president shall be of a European descent. It doesn't say that.
but eventually laws were written to say that we by law were not citizens, which that didn't apply. Which would mean that it didn't apply to us.
Okay, and the Constitution was written. It was opposed. There was a war.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, at the end of the day, it's. I get it, but this is the argument to be had, right? This is the age long conversation. This is what swings the pendulum.
And one of these days, and I'll love to be a part of that conversation. I love to have other people be a part of it as well. But one of these days, we will have a actual discussion. I don't think we should do it now because we're focusing on something. But one of these days, we'll have an actual discussion about who those guys were that lost. Who those guys were that lost, because I think that's lost in translation today. Who the guys were that lost, and what party they actually are.
Right now, we're talking about two different wars.
Oh,
So
are you not talking about the Civil War?
yeah, no.
Oh, okay,
So
my bad.
so we yeah,
Were you talking about the Revolutionary War?
we're talking about two separate wars.
Okay,
Now,
yeah,
but here's the thing: at each time we had internal conflict, right? Each time that we had internal conflict, you have to admit that the country got substantially better.
sure,
Now,
yeah.
was it was it great for all
We
people?
progressed. We progressed.
Was it great for all people? No. We were still as a society. I mean, think
Young.
about it like this:
We were
as,
young.
as advanced as we are today, with as much technology and education vastly that we have today. I mean, there was time like back in the day to have an education was that was above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Even for and let's keep it 100, even for poor white Americans that weren't privileged and owned the plantations
Mm-hmm.
and owned all the land. You know, you had a bunch of those guys that weren't as privileged as the privileged. They weren't in the 1%. They weren't in the club, right? So, you start talking about society in a way to where we're putting people against people based off of, and how many times have you heard me say this? You have social stratification.
Yeah. I've always maintained, well, not always, but now I definitely maintain that the biggest divider in America is not race, it's
Monetary.
status. It's status, yeah, it's financial status. That's the bigger divider. It's
Right.
just not the one we talk about because I think we just have a infatuation with things that we can't control. We can't control our race. We can't control the color of our skin. We can't control the financial. our financial stability and everything like that. But again, like I said, I think I think us as just humans find it more compelling to focus on things that we can't control because it just seems more outrageous.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, um, look, emotions aren't. And then the next thing in here is it is in a bunch of feeling stuff, not a bunch of subjective stuff. It's very
Mm,
clear cut and freaking dry.
mm-hmm,
There's no, there's really no thing, nothing to be left to the interpretation, really, because when they break it down like that, there's been a couple times like, oh man, what's that mean? Then the next line it tells us exactly what they meant by that.
mm,
You know what I mean? So like if all Americans took the time to understand and look at our Constitution and read through it, once or twice, to be honest with you, I think this should be something that all Americans children are taught in school. It's not invasive, it's not exclusive, it's not. If we're going to talk about history, I think this is what our history should be. You learn this Constitution, and then higher forms of study, such as college and universities and stuff like that, will teach you the details
mm.
if you seek that, if you truly want to seek that. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you're going to get the basic history lesson that they already give you. But what do you think about that? Do you think that the Constitution as American students should be part of curriculum? Like this should be like a testable, quizzable subject matter?
Yeah,
Right.
I think that there's a lot less. I think that there's a lot less important things that are taught in the public school system than the actual meaning and details of the Constitution. Yeah,
Okay. So
I think the fact that we blindly, I think the fact. Well, I don't even know if I need to ask my children. I don't even know if they do this still, but the fact that when we grew up, we would blindly say the Pledge of Allegiance every day without really knowing what we're pledging allegiance to and why we're pledging
well, that was
allegiance to
a
it.
failure on your teachers,
School
yeah,
system.
the system,
Yeah,
and then and then again, that depends on your social surroundings.
we said it. I just know as me as a child, we said it because they told us to say it.
Right. So again, that's gonna fall on leadership and your social surroundings. Now, I would tell you where you would find students and kids understanding what they're pledging to is when their dad's in the army and they're in a school that's got 90% kids that their dads are and their moms are in the army or the air force, and their mom happens to be on deployment or their dad happens to be on deployment. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
now those
absolutely.
social surroundings, in those communities, those kids definitely know what they're pledging to.
Mm,
Okay.
agreed.
So if we're going to certain demographics where that is less prevalent, to say it as gently as I can, right? Those children may not understand that because it's quite the opposite. The things that wear those flags are people that are harassing them and making it hard for them. You see what I'm getting at?
Absolutely.
So it's a disconnect there where I feel that if we because I'm gonna be honest with you, I think children should say the Pledge of Allegiance because first and foremost, it's pride in country. It's
And I want to be clear. I'm not saying the opposite of that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't say it.
no, and some people will argue that the Pledge of Allegiance is indoctrination. It's like, oh, you're brainwashing them and this and that. But no, it's just simple. Like, I get the God part, like, because that's the part that really got everybody bent out of shape is one one um one nation under God. I think was the original spark to why are we saying this in school if my kid doesn't believe in God or if my family doesn't believe in God. we're this, we're that, or we're this.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah. Eh.
it would be as simple as one nation under our Creator with liberty and just everything else is good. Like everything else is great. I pledge allegiance to the flag, this saying that I live here. Everybody, every other country.
I mean, just tell your child to skip that part. One nation, indivisible, with liberty. That's all they got to do.
Or just you know what I'm saying? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, but that's the one thing, then that's the one thing that is a pendulum. That's a left or right. See, we're getting off the side, but
Yeah, it is. It is.
it's all good because we're talking about stuff, and here's the thing. That's a big issue when you go from left to right. One side wants God in school, and the other side doesn't feel that it's inclusive to other things.
Yeah. It's
That is a
interesting.
very good argument to be had. It's a very hot topic, right? But that's the thing. We letting the emotional things get inside the way of pledging allegiance to the place that we live, that we are looking for to defend us, to make sure that we have the right to all of these things in this Constitution and our Bill of Rights. That is actually really good stuff for us. If we understand it, if we've seen other places in the world, we understand that the people that wrote this, our forefathers, our founding fathers, had a vision. They were visionaries.
Right.
That that everybody that is in that plan right now is not of them. You know what I'm saying? We can't blame the forefathers or whatever for the actions of people that are abusing their rights and their rights and their liberties. The rest of us are trying to live here and just go by the letter of the law while you have other people cheating. We need to understand why those people are cheating and what it is that benefits. That it's usually power and money. If you look at our politicians and our people that lead us, sometimes we have to look deeper than the superficial. What's put in front of us. We need the freaking score. We need the stats verse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can have
Stat
the
them up.
dude, you can have the dude on the sideline talking about he can shoot every shot, that how good he is. You see the stats.
Stat them up.
So I mean, honestly, I, the next we'll cover the rest of this section with this president, section 10, and then how much time are we on here, verse? I
You
know that
still got about 55 minutes.
50 what?
Yeah, about 55 minutes before you reach the 2 hour mark.
Oh, okay, I got you. All righty. But I wasn't gonna go for 2 hours, man. I was gonna go
Yeah, I
for
know.
an hour. But
I know. I know you like to keep it 45 to an hour,
yeah,
but we're over an hour.
that's the thing. So my approach on this, I definitely, as we started going into this has to be a couple of sections, a couple of different. And I know I have a couple of people that want to jump on here, but it was just kind of early for them, you
Hmm.
know. Let me just take this pause to say this though. Um, we have an election here in a couple months. There's going to be a lot of people on TV talking this and that. Both sides. Let's just keep it 100. I'm gonna be very impartial right now because I need this to be very clear that aside from my opinions, this nation is facing a very critical and pivotal election. You know, um, a lot of people's feelings are here, emotions are there. So I really want us to start having conversations. This left, right, up, down, whatever way you want to slice it, is really what is driving. to our decline is the amount of division. We dissect everything down the middle, everything. And that it's like a vase or a glass. You chip that glass, it becomes that much weaker. You get cracking it here, cracking it there. And then the next thing you know, you pour a little bit of water in it. And the pressure from that water breaks that glass and you can't get it back together. But if you get to it before the last crack get to it and you were able to seal it and come to some sort of compromise, glue that shit together, it may not be perfect. It may not it may not look pretty, but I guarantee you what you when you start sealing glass and you have that cement reinforcing it, now you have that structure around that broken cracked glass, and in fact, it's stronger, a little bit stronger because now it has additive to it. It's been glued together, right? You know what I mean? So, you think about a boulder wall. You have all these rocks, all these powerful things.
Hmm.
Individually powerful things, and then you cement them together, less permeable. You know what I'm saying? Less things to slip through the cracks. It's not going to look pretty, depending on how I don't know. I guess there's some masons out there, some guys, some that do stonework. That's like, nah, man, I can make it look real pretty. You know what I mean? But you understand what I'm getting at. That each one of those rocks may come from a different layer. Come from a different element. You know, but if we're able to come together and come to that compromise, and this is what I want to do. So I got a couple people that I want to get on the next couple shows, verse.
Hmm.
So if we can coordinate that, I know you're a busy guy. I do appreciate, man. Round of applause for on a favoritism, unbiased waking up in the morning with the old dog. Waking up in the morning with the old dog to talk his crap. You know what I'm saying? But
I
I guess
appreciate it.
I'm gonna wrap this one up. I'm gonna wrap this one up. We definitely got to get to part two, part three, part four, probably of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. But I'm gonna wrap this one up real quick here. So we were talking about executive powers and all of that with the president, section two. I mean, Article two, section one. Section two is also dealing with the president. So this is giving him the authorities as commander in chief. Look into that. Section three, he shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the State of the Union. So his State of the Union address is his formal address to Congress. Hmm. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So his State of the Union address is to Congress. That's a congressional address. It's
Mm.
not a national. I don't. So it looks here as that's not a national. They've made it to where we're able to see it, but it's not. It's not. That's an address to Congress. So his status. It looks like it's his status report.
Well, that's who's there, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it makes sense. We're just we're just able to. They're just broadcasting it to us.
right.
But
But
yeah, Congress is the people who's there who he's talking to.
right, right. So okay. See, and that's the type of stuff, you know what I mean? Like the little details that we may or may not have known about the Constitution that may make some more sense to you and what you're dealing with. Like I didn't realize that was. I didn't realize that. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeached on or impeached for conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So it don't even talk about felonies. I mean, it says high crimes, but even
Yeah,
misdemeanors. So that right there Hmm. That right there makes a lot of difference. We have a big trial going on.
Yeah.
We have a conviction. We have a conviction, felony convictions on a candidate, a presidential candidate. And what does that implicate? What's that mean? So that man, first we got to talk about these things. UF, we got to do this. We got to have these conversations. So I would encourage you guys all to take a look at this Constitution, read it. If the next time you catch us, I'm gonna try to stay on this time frame on Saturday mornings if I can do that. If I can't, we'll definitely get in where we fit in. But when you catch this, the day that you hear this, or the day that the next day that you have an opportunity to speak to someone that has that may not agree with you, what I would ask you to do is simply ask them, "How do you feel?" And then give them like 10 minutes to talk. Don't interrupt them. Don't inject your feeling into it. If you really want 5 minutes, 5 minutes of your time, take it to someone and ask them how they feel and just let them talk about it.
Mm.
So we'll pick up again. I appreciate you guys tuning in if you were able to tune in. And if you're catching me on the pod, I appreciate you coming in as usual. Um First, where can they find us?
Well, you can find the Trillism show on YouTube on the Guap Network. Type in the Guap Network, GWOP Network. You should find the YouTube channel there where you can find the live show replay as well. You can listen to the audio version on all platforms that podcasts are available. But if you're listening on Spotify, you can actually specifically interact with the show there, post any questions as well as any interactions or reactions to the things that we're speaking about here. You can let them know where they can find you on Instagram and TikTok.
You can find me on TikTok Trilla. Um, you can find me on Instagram under Trilogy Productions. And then you can find me on Facebook as Trilogy Prod. Um, very interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And until next time, Verse, I appreciate you this morning.
Absolutely, man. We here. We locked.
Until next time, Trilla out. To the sultry sounds of Trilogy Productions.